I dare you to comment down below, what is the one thing you would change in the WWE? Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today this is how you fix the WWE in one easy step. So I was sitting back today and I was watching some old school wrestling. I was watching some WWF Raw from around 1996 and early 1997, and it got me to thinking, this is unlike anything else that happened in the Attitude Era. This was WWE when they were getting beat down in the ratings week in and week out by WCW because Nitro was the hottest thing going, and it made me realize something. WWE has a major issue, and they've had a major issue for almost 20 plus years now. But before we get into that issue, if you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button today, because one, is absolutely free, and two, you don't subscribe at any point in the future. And can we hit 500 likes on this video? I think we can. Now, outside of those plugs, the real quick thing at the base, the core, the root of all evil, if you will, of the issues WWE lacks in is that the format for the shows have not changed in almost 20 plus years. Now, what I mean by a format is when you watch an episode of Monday Night Raw, or you watch an episode of SmackDown, or you watch an episode of NXT UK 205 Live, but let's be honest, nobody's watching that. Let's be real here. Every single episode feels the same. It doesn't matter if Roman Reigns is on SmackDown, if he's on Raw, if he's in catering, it doesn't matter. It's always gonna feel the exact same because WWE has not changed their format in over 20 years. Ever since they got that Attitude Era format, they have not diverged from it. Now, of course, they've changed up what they can do within said format based upon the PG rating, if you will, even though I don't really hate the PG rating like most people do, and also time constraints because Monday Night Raw went to 3 hours, which then obviously is going to force a natural change of format. However, it's pretty much the same thing. Let's be honest here. Now, the format usually goes something like this. You open up the show with the intro, back when they had fireworks, pew, 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 pew. You then have somebody come down the ramp, they grab a microphone, they talk for about 5 to 10 minutes, they get interrupted, they back and forth a little bit, and they either set up for a match that night, they set up for a match a couple weeks from now, or they set up for something to come on the next week. It happens every single time, and this is what I like to call story progression in professional wrestling, because story progression in pro wrestling suffers from a terrible trope that they never divert from the things that worked in the past because they look at the 1990s, specifically the late 90s when ratings were booming through the roof, and you can't deny that is what works. That is the peak. They do not want to evolve, and honestly, that is the number one thing you have to change about the WWE to make the WWE better. You have to evolve, and I'm not talking about a dead Gabe Sapolsky promotion. I'm talking about evolving in the sense that you need to take risk. You need to change up everything about your show on the flip of a dime, but they never do that. They claim they do, but they never do it, sadly. Now, the way you can easily change a format in pro wrestling and not structure it the same, look at a show, which I know this is going to be a culture shock for a lot of you, look at a show like Lucha Underground. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't really like Lucha Underground Season 4. I didn't really like Lucha Underground Season 3. However, Season 1 and Season 2 of Lucha Underground, in my opinion, is the peak of professional wrestling when it comes to outside of your normal tropes in pro wrestling. It showed that you're able to show stories and tell stories in the professional wrestling realm while not doing normal WWE trained ideas and thought processes. You don't need to overcomplicate things per se, in the sense that, let's be honest here, if you look at Monday Night Raw, if you look at SmackDown, if you look at NXT, how many people on that roster can you really tell me what their gimmick is? I'll wait. Comment it down below. Comment down below in a sentence or less what their gimmick is. I would love to know, because there's really nobody on that roster you can do that with, and obviously there are going to be exceptions to that. However, back in the Attitude Era, even though I didn't really like the Attitude Era in all honesty, you could literally run down Val Venus, adult film star. You go to Stone Cold Steve Austin, he hates his boss. The Rock, he wants to be a movie star. I mean, granted, that wasn't really The Rock's gimmick, but hey, it is what it is. You do things like that, it simplifies professional wrestling, and that is really what needs to be done. You need to simplify things. You need to pull back the curtain a little bit. You need to take off the high-thinking brains, because nobody there is really putting out storylines other than, like, I'll even say I love the Roman Reigns storyline right now. I will give the benefit of the doubt of that. The head chief of the table stuff, absolutely phenomenal storytelling. What they're doing with Paul Heyman, absolutely phenomenal storytelling. Monday Night Raw, I'm really enjoying Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt stuff because it's different. It is diverging from, it is diverting, there we go, from that normal trope in pro wrestling. A fireball's getting thrown. Somebody's getting literally lit on fire. Now, granted, the effects were cheesy as all could be, but it was still very, very different, and that is what brought everybody to that segment. Everybody was on the edge of their seat when Randy Orton poured that gasoline out in the middle of the ring and he lit that match. When Alexa Bliss poured gasoline all over herself and laid in the middle of the ring and told Randy Orton, light me on fire. And everybody was like, whoa, 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 easy. Whoa, what are we doing here? This is Monday Night Raw. This doesn't happen. That reaction right there. This doesn't happen. That's saying that needs to happen more. There needs to be unpredictability. There needs to be moments where you look at your friend and say, I don't know what's going on right now. This doesn't usually happen. When Lex Luger showed up to WCW Monday Night Nitro at the Mall of America, that is exactly what that moment was. You had to look at your buddy and go, I don't know what he's doing here. He was just in the WWF. What's going on? That's not supposed to happen. When Kevin Nash and Scott Hall showed up in WCW, that's not supposed to happen. When The Undertaker shoved Paul Bear down a sewer, that's not supposed to happen. There's moments in times where things are just not supposed to happen. I know that I'm mainly just rambling right now about a lot of things, but it all circles around the one thought process. The format of pro wrestling has been the same for 20 plus years. Do you know the reason why I love AEW so much is because even though they do pretty much the same formats, it is different. It is not, oh, here we go. Billy Batty gonna walk down the ring. He gonna grab a microphone. I don't like Mr. Chuck over there. I'm gonna fight him. Oh, and then Mr. Chuck comes out. Oh, hey, Billy Batty, I don't like you. Oh, and they go back and forth until they're meeting at Summerfest that weekend. And you know what? That's fine. It's worked. It's worked for 20 plus years. But don't you think, just maybe, a little bit, a tiny, easy-weasy little bit, you could change it up. You could do something different. You could decide to not do the same thing. Step out of your comfort zone. I mean, that's what I'm doing with this YouTube video right now instead of posting in WWE 2K20 Universe mode. And you know what? You never know if something's going to work until you do it. So yeah, that's the one thing I would change about the WWE. Formats. Literally do anything else at the start, middle, and end of your show than what you typically do. What they did with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss on Monday Night Raw, where they ended on a cliffhanger, more of that, please, because it made me tune in to Monday Night Raw that Monday. But you know what? That'll wrap up the video today, guys. I appreciate you all tuning into this one, and as always and forever, take it easy though, guys. Peace!